All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Goodness, the Christmas Eve audience is my favorite recorded audience. Wow, this is really special. Thank you. Happy non-denominational holidays to everyone, everywhere. So great to have Albert in the mix.
Albert, thank you.
How much I adore Albert. And Kim, how much I adore my Kim.
Kim, how are you?
I love her. And so we will be chitting into the new year. Chit. Yes, and David Cay Johnston is live with us today. A lot of shows took the day off. This is Christmas Eve, as you know, which generally means, I guess, that tomorrow is Christmas. So a lot of shows, and understandably, would take
Happy Chanukah.
And it's Chanukah, also, I think, beginning tomorrow night, I believe. Anyway, whatever you're celebrating, as we welcome all denominations and all celebrations. But a lot of shows are off today. Not us. We are live. In fact,
we'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
We are going to be on for the whole 2 hours with a special holiday broadcast. Wow. I'm excited about it. Michael Snyder, the culture blaster, is one of those people who gives and gives and gives until it hurts. And he sent us an email saying there's some big holiday movies, and they are going to be part of the discussion around Oscar. And so if you'd like, I will come in, make a special trip from Mount Entertainment or wherever he lives.
Never been anything like this.
I will come into your show and give you just a quick sense of these films, which again will be out there for the holidays and will likely be part of the Oscar buzz. And so Michael Snyder will join us. Merry Christmas Eve and non-denominational holidays. Thank you, Tiff MLA. Delette says Merry Christmas. Right on. Happy ho 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 from Trevor in Hollywood. And somebody I saw, happy non-denominational holidays all, and happy birthday, Mark, from the other 1226 guy. Northern Tier FPV also has a birthday the day after Christmas. Very hard when your birthday is right up against the Savior's birthday. It's just very tough to get any.
Hey, which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Yeah. So I've lived my whole life just sort of understanding. I didn't really resent it. I just understood it. Like, this is the shadow I will live in. And so it's great that in my support group for those who are born the day after Christmas, there is Northern Tier FPV also. Same deal. How about Kathleen Bryant? A super sticker for $20 on this Christmas Eve.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Kathleen Bryant. Wow, that's really cool. I'm aware also of the controversy. I don't want to shy from controversy on this day before Christmas. That Hanukkah thing is really disrespectful, in my opinion. Just give me the truth. Wow. That's the Smokey Robinson cameo that he was asked to do. He was asked to wish everyone a happy Hanukkah, but they just spelled out Hanukkah without a pronunciation, and he...
Happy Chanukah.
Yeah.
I have no idea what Chanukah is.
Right.
But Happy Chanukah, because they said so.
I think it's
hilarious.
I think it's mirthful, I guess is the word I would look for. I mean, it puts a smile on my face. It's not disrespectful to the Jewish community. Come on, dude. You got it. I mean, it's playful, I would say. So that's, in my opinion, where it comes from. And I think I'd encourage you to come over to my opinion. Is what I'd encourage you to. Please, you're encouraged to come over to our opinion And I hope you won't have to go into the Mark Thompson Show re-education camps. Those are going to really be. Delette, thank you for the $20 super chat. Happy birthday, Mark.
That's
thank
nice.
you, Delette. And
Big shout out
to you. We won't be on the air, actually, for the rest of the week. So thank you for your birthday wish.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So much. Happy Festivus. My main grievance is with the 80 million bipeds that voted Trump. What the actual F, says Fubar Total. Yeah. I'm looking forward to a wild year, man, and it's going to be a crazy time in this country. So, good afternoon, everyone, and a happy birthday, Mark, and Merry Christmas from Rose. Thank you, Rose, and Merry Christmas to you, Mark. I wish you a Merry Birthmas. Must have sucked as a kid. It did suck as a kid. And by the way, it still sucks. Yeah. Yeah. I'm Jewish, and it is not disrespectful, says Penny. He was uninformed is all. Exactly. It was funny. I'm sure now he laughs or is embarrassed or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it wasn't done out of, something sinister.
Sure, there's no derision toward
Right.
the, whatever. It's funny that the guy didn't quite get it. Yeah. Merry, happy, fun days to all from Mark Sandstrom.
Hey,
What up,
Mark.
Mark Sandstrom?
Big shout out.
Thanks for the super chat. Thank you, everybody, here at the holidays for being so supportive to this show. Really is something that's it touches me. It really does. I mean, it really.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Touches me. I'm just looking at, I'm sorry, what I'm doing right now is looking at chat, which I shouldn't do. But happy non-denominational birthday, Mark. Yeah, Cat Love Dreaming Peach. Thank you. We still have these gorgeous T-shirts, happy non-denominational holiday T-shirts in all the designer colors. They're at getmarkmerch.com, but the non-denominational thing seems to really be catching on. Yeah. There it is at getmarkmerch.com. I'm actually going to jump on and get a bunch more merch. I have to buy it just like everybody else, but I think it's a pretty good deal right now because these shirts, for example, are $6 less than they'll be, I think, in the new year. And when I say these shirts, it doesn't have to be the non-denominational shirts. The other ones, the regular Mark Thompson Show shirts. And I'm also I'm drinking coffee from the new mugs. They look like that. I don't know if you can. Yeah, there they are. That's the logo. And there's Chit Chit Chit. I actually am. This is a Chit 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 mug that I am actually drinking from. Yeah.
I heard that
special.
Coachella Valley coffee tastes best out of the Chit 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 mug.
Oh, had you heard that? That's great.
I have
Well,
heard it. Yeah, I've heard
it tastes real good today. Happy birthday, Mark. Sheila's True Crime Chat. Sheila's been on the show. What's up, Sheila? Big shout out to you.
Big shout out.
How generous of you. Thank you, everybody. Very generous crowd. That is super cool. With the champagne clinks of the glasses. Courtney and I have a little event that we're attending later today. Yes. It's really at the home of somebody who really does Christmas so beautifully. Like just, with the Christmas Village, and her husband is this guy who does all these sophisticated, roller coaster thing with the skaters. And it's like, it's like those people who are miniature train collectors. They have those whole garages or basements dedicated to that kind of thing. That if you'll go down there, it's just like, wow, it's like a kid's dream. And that's what they have at this celebration. And then, of course, all the tables are perfectly appointed. That's what she does. It's just brilliant. So we're looking forward to that. It's very, very. And Courtney said, "Are you going to dress up, Mark, please, for this?" Yeah. All right. GetMarkMerch.com is where you get all of our merch. And thank you for the birthday wishes.
Saw a
Rhonda,
request for a bigger mug. Someone says it has to be bigger.
No.
And my thing about that is that you really don't need any more coffee. I think if we make a bigger mug, it's going to be a mistake.
Yeah, it will. It'll definitely. I have bigger mugs. I don't know, but I'll take any meeting on anything, as you know. So maybe we should get a bigger mug. We'll look at that. We're actually, believe it or not, Beth Farmer. Thank you for the birthday $20
Big shout
that
out.
goes right into the show's coffers
Really
and helps
nice.
keep us on the air. Thank you very, very much, Beth Farmer. But I was going to say that we are already considering, and we, as you know, have changed merch platforms, and we're already considering, these guys and evaluating them in various ways. So one of the ways is, what merch can we get going? And so to the extent that people want a bigger mug, etc., yeah, bigger mug, says Just Give Me the Truth. 20-ounce minimum for me. Okay, all right. So to the extent that they can accommodate that request, maybe that will affect our conversation. The Chit travel mug is pretty big, says Jane. Yeah, I like the travel mug. Y'all should have travel mugs. Well, I think y'all do have travel mugs, don't we?
Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love my big mug, says Just Give Me the Truth. All right. Well, there you go.
They want to get their supersized version of
I
the
see.
Mark Thompson.
Yeah, there's a real, well, this is welcome to Mug Talk, everybody. Turn your radio down. Hello, you're on the air. Welcome to Mug Talk. Bigger mugs, are they actually better? That's what we're talking about this hour. And anyway, I need the Chit mug for my quad Coachella cappuccino, says Sheila's True Crime Chat. Yeah, this Chit mug is great. I love it. But I will look into, here it is, the Chit. Oh my gosh. And it's just wonderful too,
Nice.
Yeah. I just feel that warm, wonderful feeling. It really is great. Maybe for next Christmas you could sell Christmas ornaments, says Randy, like Melania was doing this season, or maybe non-denominational holiday ornaments. This is actually something that we didn't do this year that we normally do. And the only reason I became aware of it was in our meetup, somebody had, and I forget, I wish I could remember who had them. I feel like one of the couples had two of our ornaments of the Mark Thompson Show Christmas ornaments, and it reminded me that we don't have ornaments on sale this year. We should have done it. But thank you, Randy, for next year. Yeah. Luis, who was part of our meetup the other day, big shout out to Luis. He's an OG of the show. Happy birthday, big guy. I guess that would be me. Hope it's great. Thanks again for an awesome meetup. Could we have the next one in person at Tony's Arcade in his house? Yeah, Tony's got the arcade actually in his home.
It looks like Scandia Family Center in his house.
It does. LOL. Happy holidays from San Carlos. Very, very cool. Thank you, guys. All right. I'd love to continue with this frivolity, but I guess frivolity is dingable. Yeah. But we got to get going. So,
The Mark Thompson Show.
David Cay Johnston will be along. He'll address some of what we'll likely be talking about a bit here in a moment, which is related to the latest remarks from Trump about Panama, about Greenland. I mean, this is the world we're going to be living in the next 4 years. But before I get to that, it was a pretty big deal yesterday, and it continues to be a big deal. The weather does a number on the Santa Cruz wharf. What happened, Kim? It was huge waves, wasn't it, that took out the wharf?
Really, really big swells that came through and took down the tip of the Santa Cruz Pier, and it caused the Dolphins restaurant you see here, fall into the sea. This is pretty serious business. And there are more swells that are expected to happen today because the National Weather Service is saying that there are possibilities for dangerous, potentially life-threatening surf. They say it will be very high. There will be rip currents, sneaker waves, coastal flooding all the way through Tuesday for all of the beaches along the Pacific coast. The breaking waves could be up to 60 feet among very rough seas, ongoing extremely dangerous conditions. So they're advising people to stay out of the water. But at least 3 people fell into the water when the tip of the Santa Cruz Pier came down, and 2 were rescued. At least 2 were rescued. I'm not there are no reports of any fatalities, so it looks like there are conflicting reports as to whether 2 or 3 people fell in, but we got a message. This is crazy. Scott in Arroyo Grande says that we might find this worth sharing. He says, our daughter's family flew in to spend Christmas, Hanukkah with us. We met them for a few days in Santa Cruz before going to our Central Coast home. Monday, after checking out of our hotel, we visited the pier. We walked to the end, watched the sea lions, and I used the porta potty there, he says. Then we stopped at a fish market on the pier to buy crabs to take home.
By
Really
the way,
popular
I
thing to
love,
do.
just not to interrupt, but I just love someone whose narrative includes mentioning the specific porta potty stop, which I think does give a certain credibility and specificity of detail to the story. So I like that.
Imagine this.
And it does continue. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. A couple of hours after we left the pier is when the end of the pier separated and collapsed. When I heard, I thought it's a good thing it didn't happen while I was in the porta potty. I mean, I feel like they need to check all those porta potties. God, how awful. Can you imagine?
That's pretty brutal. I do agree that a collapse of the wharf during a porta potty session would be in its own category of nightmare. Yeah, I totally do agree.
So they've had the Seacliff Pier wash away. They had the Capitola Pier wash away. And now the Santa Cruz Pier is horribly damaged. So the people of Santa Cruz can't really catch a break when it comes to waves and being inundated with weather and having the traditions, pulled away from them. People walk out to the pier, they buy their fresh Christmas crab at the end of the pier. It's a bummer for everyone in this area. I know you don't agree with the crab thing, but
Yeah, I'm not a supporter of the crab thing, but Deirdre Lozica says there's a video on YouTube showing 3 construction workers in the water. 2 were standing on floating debris, and 1 was in the water. They were all 3 rescued by somebody on a jet ski. Yeah, I saw that jet ski thing also. It really is scary. I mean, I think fortunately, the bulk of the story is associated with the destruction of the pier and not loss of life, but that destruction of the pier is huge. And and Dillette does say it for me as well. Being washed out to sea in a porta potty would be a horrible way to go. I agree.
God.
I mean, you wouldn't get, well, at least he died doing what he loved. You wouldn't hear that. You always get that. I love that spin on death. Well, at least he died doing what he loved. He was a backcountry traveler, and he died on a hike, and that's the way he would have wanted it. That spin on sadness is always interesting to me. But if you did die in a porta potty washed out to sea, I mean, you couldn't say that, he died doing what he loved. I mean, at least there's that. People would mourn your passing. The porta potty incident is bad, but not quite as bad as the one in Jurassic Park. What happened in Jurassic Park? I forget.
I don't know.
Albert, that's your department. What happened in Jurassic Park? A dinosaur ate somebody in a porta potty?
Yeah, I think they tore the roof off the bathroom, and he was caught. He was trying to steal some of the dinosaur stuffs too. I forget the character, but yeah.
Oh, I see. Well, there you have it. There you go, Calvin. Thank you. Died doing what he loved, taking a crap. Thank you very, very much. All right. You see, thank you to Scott for sending us that email to get us off on this jag. But that's the latest in terms of the weather. By the way, as Kim mentioned, if you're in California, they're saying, hey, guys, that's a warm-up act. There's going to be intense wave and surf action through the weekend, through Christmas into the next few days. Isn't that right? I mean, there are all kinds of rip currents and very high surf and sneaker waves and breaking waves up to 60 feet. And there's all this stuff that you should be aware of if you are coming to California or if you're in California anywhere near the coast.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Hey, when you got to go, says Underdog. I understand, but right. Save that for the memorial service, okay? Underdog, really. Yes, say it when it matters. The other weird thing that's weather-related, and then I will get into some politics, the Heavenly Valley ski area was caught up in an incident that was repeated in Colorado, and the incident
Kind
is,
of,
and anybody, I mean, I don't know, or Colorado preceded it, doesn't really matter. My point is, 2 major ski areas had major incidents going on this week. Now to our major incident desk and Kim McAllister. Kim, what happened?
Well, yesterday at Heavenly in the Tahoe area, one chairlift kind of backslid into another and they crashed, and 5 people fell about 25 feet out of the chairlift at Heavenly Ski Resort. They were injured. They were taken to the regional medical center, the renowned regional medical center in Reno. We don't know what their conditions are, but it happened on the Comet Express chairlift. And one of the witnesses said one of the ski lift chairs hit the chair behind it. So
I didn't even think that was possible. I thought all the chairs are like attached to the cable.
Forward motion, just going,
Right, right. This is extraordinary. He's 60 years old. One guy who fell off of the thing.
Yeah. So pretty scary. One of the reports says the Comet Express is the oldest detachable lift at Heavenly. It was put in 1988. You know, they had an incident with at Heavenly recently in January where a lady got stuck in one of the gondolas. They didn't realize she was in there, and she was stuck in there for 15 hours overnight in freezing temperatures. They're not doing too well with the lifts at Heavenly.
that is insane. That is brutal. And I love that on the heels of what Kim has just said, the statement from Heavenly, which was, "The safety of our guests is our top priority, and the resort is investigating the incident." Well, guys, I'm just saying, for a top priority, you've let some stuff get into the outfield on you, like a lady caught in the gondola for 15 hours overnight. I mean, you can lose extremities that way easily through frostbite, fingers, toes, not to mention if you had some kind of medical condition that stresses the bodies in ways that, could end up killing somebody, just to be blunt about it. So,
what the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Thank you. Ron Owens gets it. I do think that Heavenly is one of the most beautiful ski areas in the world. When you look back on that main lift that is taking you up and you look back over Lake Tahoe, to me, it is literally one of the most stunning vistas in all the world. But you definitely don't want to fall out of one of those things. So that is pretty crazy. Anyway,
Speaking about the gondolas, yesterday in Colorado, they had a malfunction that left 174 skiers and snowboarders needing to be rescued. It happened at the Winter Park Resort. Actually, it happened on Saturday, my bad. But they had to evacuate people out of the gondolas because the gondolas got stuck.
I always hear about that as a possibility. The problem is those gondolas, and chairlifts too, for this matter, go way up. I mean, the vertical on them, meaning the drop between the gondola and the ground, is immense. I mean, it's it can be, I don't know. You can tell me what it can be, but it probably can be 100 feet, at some places. And so getting some kind of relief in there, getting some kind of rescue in there is really hard. So
you know what people got for their time and trouble?
Let me guess, free.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you, guys, listen, I know you've all been through a very tough period. The rest of the ski day is free. Yeah.
Very close. Right. All guests trapped on the gondola were given a $10 voucher and two lift passes for this year or next year.
Oh my God!
You get to go skiing for free once or twice and a $10 voucher at the gift shop.
That really is not sufficient. No. Man, that is weak. Are you kidding me?
No,
that is weak.
Seriously, what the?
I will say this. When you buy that lift ticket, if you look at the back of the lift ticket, there are all of these, it looks like the terms and conditions at iTunes or terms and conditions anywhere, Facebook, whatever, with a bunch of legal speak in there, and crammed into that legal speak, from my understanding and my recollection, is the indemnification, essentially, of the ski area. So you really don't have any recourse should something happen.
You die, you're on your own. Yeah.
Exactly. You kind of have to, you sort of signed on to it by buying. Indemnification is a ding word, you're right. But it is truly a, you're at their mercy. So yeah, you don't want the $10 gift certificate? Great. Then it's just, tough turkey. See you later. Merry Christmas. But new X Games, jump your gondola. There you go. You should absolutely be given something more substantial than a $10 gift certificate. But I guess that's the state of America as it sits right now.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, we have a lot to get to. Panama and Greenland. We want to talk to David Cay Johnston about that. I also have news out of Ivanka Trump, and I will get to that. Before I get to that, I actually thought you might have an interest in something that's a little offbeat related to Syria. And I know it's not something we talked a lot about Syria. We did speak about Assad and the fall of the Assad regime. We talked about the geopolitics of that region and how essentially Iran now, it's a huge loss for Iran. It's a huge loss for Russia. And there is a rebalancing of the Middle East superstructure going on as a result of the fall of Syria. But that's the geopolitics of it. Interesting. First, I'll tell you that Bashar al-Assad's wife has filed for divorce, everyone.
What?
She doesn't want any more of the dictator train. She wants to get off at the next stop. And I might say the next stop of the dictator train for Bashar al-Assad is, as you might expect, in, anybody? Russia. Because Russia was really, they were the buddies and allies of Assad. And so Bashar al-Assad, the former dictator, now living in Moscow. And she, his wife, who is British, by the way, moved to Syria to be with her dictator beau. She has been there for 20 years, married to him, and now says, the Moscow thing is just not my jam, and I'm going to kind of give up the whole scene. So she has filed for divorce, and she wants to move back to Britain. And
Sayonara, sucker!
Yeah, she is, it's currently being evaluated, her application to get out of there and to leave Moscow. And she is a British Syrian national, born and raised in London by Syrian parents. And again, she moved away and married him, Assad, at the age of 25. But she really didn't sign up for the fall and the fleeing and the deposing of her husband, which is what's happened. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you before I get back to this country, America, is that Assad, when he was going to have to flee, he did this. He set up the entire, if you want to think of it as the cabinet, all of his closest advisors, he set them up to come to the palace and the center of power, and they were going to add military there to protect from the rebels. And Assad was articulating he's going to fight this out. And he was saying, get me a speech, write me a speech so that I can speak to the Syrian people on television and tell them that we are going to beat back this rebel invasion and Syria and my regime is going to continue proudly. So while they're writing the speech, while they're all going to the palace, while all those troops are coming to the palace to, again, protect him from the incoming rebel surge, what is Assad doing? He is going to the airport, he is getting on a plane, and he is flying to Moscow. And no one, I mean no one, knew about him fleeing. Everyone in his cabinet, all of his closest associates, they were all there. They were writing the speech. And Assad was on his way. His brother, who was a big part of the administration as well, he fled to Iraq. So the Assads are gone. Meantime, they're all sitting there, the assistants and cabinet officials, etc., and they're obviously there at the palace as the palace gates were open and the rebels came right in. So that's the story on Assad. And sadly, the marriage did not survive. And those two kids will be breaking up.
It's too bad. They look so happy there with the heart and everything.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you know, it's a sometimes when dictators are deposed and, you know, those secret torture chamber camps are emptied, the relationship just does not survive. So
ours,
yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
That's the deal. That's the deal on the Assads. So now let's get to this country. In this country, it is a remarkable thing. The rise of Donald Trump has already, he's not even president yet, driven a lot of conversation. One of the conversations that he's initiated is associated with the acquisition of Greenland and of the Panama Canal. Now, we don't have ownership of the Panama Canal. We never had ownership of the Panama Canal. I don't understand where he gets that. We'll talk more about this with David Cay Johnston. But we got a deal when we built the Panama Canal, essentially. And by the way, when I say we built it, I think I may have noted this on the show yesterday. You know, we didn't, I mean, I get that we built it. And there was American manpower there, and there was American ingenuity there, and there was American engineering there. So I don't want to take anything away from the big hand that America had in building the Panama Canal and also the critical nature of the Panama Canal. But we also did it with thousands of indigenous people who worked there, and many of them lost their lives building the Panama Canal. So as we take the victory lap, of course, to Trump, it's just we built it, we Americans built it, I would have been down there building it too. Let me tell you, I would have built it better than anybody. And the reality is, as I say, there were many native peoples who were associated with the building of the Panama Canal. Anyway, now he's talking about, you know, taking it back. Again, you never had it. You got a deal in return for all that engineering and that American manpower. You got a deal, America, and the deal was that you you essentially have a lease on the Panama Canal. Isn't that what it was, Kim? I believe that's the way it worked.
I think so.
Yeah. So the idea somehow that you want it back is crazy, since it never really was yours to begin with. But you know, never let the facts stand in front of a good bumper sticker like "Give us our Panama Canal back." I put this in the same category as Mexico will pay for our wall, and the same likelihood of Mexico paying for the wall exists with Panama somehow returning the canal. And again, it makes no sense since it was never.
So according to CNN, with the history of the Panama Canal, it was opened in 1914. It was controlled by the United States until 1977. With an agreement that provided for its eventual handover to Panama. The canal jointly operated by both countries until the Panamanian government retained full control, and that happened right after 1999.
So there was you're saying here, there was a sense, if you will, that we had some ownership of it, and we had control of the Panama Canal. Now it's in Panama, so you know, there it is. I mean, it's a critical shipping route. But anyway, this is, we need Antarctica too, please, Mr. Trump, says, I mean, again, says Duncan. Let's take a look. Here's Mars. She says, my dad was sent to Panama Canal in the 90s. He came back with bootleg Nintendo 64 memory packs that didn't work. And that's another thing. Mars's father got some Nintendos that didn't work. We want those back too. All right. Albert, play a little bit of a setup piece on Trump's latest utterances, Panama Canal and Greenland. Here we go.
The president of Panama has fired back at U.S. President-elect Donald Trump over his suggestions that his new administration could try to regain control of the Panama Canal. During a rally Sunday, Trump said the U.S. foolishly ceded the canal in 1999.
If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America.
The channel links the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. 14,000 ships pass through the strategic waterway every year. Trump says Panama has been charging excessive fees to use the canal. Panama's president, Jose Raul Molino, maintains every square meter of the canal belongs to his country. And in a post on social media, Trump says the U.S. should take over Greenland. He says he's picked PayPal co-founder Ken Howry to serve as the next American ambassador to Denmark. He adds, for the purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Greenland is an autonomous territory of Denmark. Its prime minister says the Arctic island is not for sale.
No. Autonomous, they're ours now. Trump is really leaning in hard. I don't see, as usual, it lacks specifics because he's not a guy who can really focus on specifics for any length of time. So he makes these statements. He makes his statements to a jingoist crowd. I mean, you hear him, yeah, take back Panama, yeah, take on Greenland, we're going to take over the world. I mean, there's a very, there's kind of a troglodyte sort of frat boy notion that you're going to just take everything back because you're big, bad America. It's the ugliest part of America, I think. See, the imperialism is just despicable. It's awful. The way it's cheered is awful.
I was thinking it's the one thing he really knows something about. The deals for property and real estate. Negotiating a deal to buy Greenland. This is what he's about, right? Acquiring land, properties, building hotels. This is like his one area of expertise. So maybe that's why it's his focus right now.
Except it's not his area of expertise. I mean, what you leave out, I mean, that's his image, that he makes great deals and he's a great real estate guy. But he's not. He's a multiple bankrupt businessman whose image was shellacked over or whatever, made glistening and glossy by Mark Burnett, who is now the special envoy to the UK. And he basically, on that rep that was created on television, has pursued this profile, which is that he's a great deal maker and is into real estate. He licenses his name on buildings around the world and America. He's not really good with real estate deals. And the real estate deals, I mean, this isn't a real estate deal. I mean, Greenland, the takeover of Greenland isn't a real estate deal. It's not buying a building on Park Avenue. It's a geopolitical, strategic place that becomes more strategically important as minerals and other various resources are found in the waters around Greenland and even in Greenland itself. But for that reason, America's not just coming in and grabbing it. One of the things that's happening in areas to the north, as you know, as climate change has created an ice melt and a glacier melt, is that a lot of those resources that were locked in and not reachable because of glaciers and because of ice have now become reachable. And so there certainly is a strategic positioning that America can seek in some of these areas adjacent to these mineral stores and to these natural resource stores. But the idea somehow that you can, just be this gunslinger, it's very George Bush, the younger George Bush. I saw him as this gunslinger diplomat. Look what he did in Iraq. He started a war in Iraq. I mean, it was just crazy. And these presidents who, talk first and ask questions later, it's scary. And so Trump is really someone who I think, again, little knowledge, no effort to read briefing materials or to in any way understand the sensitive, fragile nature of so many of these relationships geopolitically, and so he just makes these statements. But he is serving up special envoys like a short-order chef. He has tapped multiple people for overlapping foreign affairs posts, including special envoys whose exact responsibilities are unusually vague, and that echoes the roles traditionally played by ambassadors, assistant secretaries of state, and National Security Council staffers. And I'm going to continue and tell you, a little bit more, but do you see what's happening here with these special envoys? There's a lot of this. This is like chump change, sort of, in a way, but this is your money, taxpayer money, going for created positions, and these are essentially gifts that
Mark,
Trump is giving to those who have gifted him in the past. Yeah.
What about the Doge?
The Doge, yeah, exactly. The Doge should look at this like, hey, Sparky, stop handing out these special envoy deals. There's a nominee for special envoy for the United Kingdom whose job description sounds similar to the ambassadors. There are multiple special envoys or advisors for the Middle East. There is one for all of Latin America. There's even an envoy for special missions with a mandate that could be anything. There may be a strategy behind this approach. Politico is saying many special envoys now require Senate confirmation, but they also can be placed in the role temporarily without approval like that for up to nearly a year. So long as Trump properly notifies key congressional committees, he can just put people in that position for up to a year. That means Trump could put the envoys in place faster than the traditional players, even if lawmakers are not sure about the exact duties involved in being an envoy. What he's basically doing, says John Feely, who's a former U.S. ambassador to Panama, who quit during Trump's first term, what he's basically doing is putting in one-year poison pills that will carry out his shock and awe agenda. Feely called the appointments part of Trump's war on the so-called deep state. It's possible some of these envoys' roles will be more clearly defined down the line, and some of the envoy positions could be purely ornamental, given as rewards to loyalists who wind up with little authority. That's kind of what I was talking about. I also think you have people in these positions who don't really want to do anything. I mean, Kimberly Guilfoyle, who actually became an ambassador, not just an envoy, you think she really wants to do anything in Greece? No, she wants to live in that 60,000 square foot place that they have for all the ambassadors, and she wants to bask in the sun, hold parties, meet some other Greek guy, and roll around with him. And that's really what these people want to do. There's no sense of public service. There's no sense of actually getting anything from an agenda standpoint done.
Hey, there's
these
some cute Greek guys. I mean, I think that you're being a little harsh.
With the Greek guy thing?
Yeah, absolutely. There's some hot Greek guys. Come on,
Mark. Oh, no,
I
totally get the Greek guy thing. No, that's the Greek god thing. They're the Grecian gods, of course.
Right. There you go.
So anyway, the confusion it might present, I mean, just from a functional standpoint, I know nobody in this coming administration cares about function. It's all about gifts, and you get this and you get that, and here you're going to be, hey, go on the taxpayer dime, fly private, whatever it might be. The reality is that there's a confusion when it comes to roles in the diplomacy that still has to be pursued as the president makes all of these various crazy statements like Greenland, like Panama, et cetera. Geopolitically, there's still work that has to be done. So whether or not it gets done in any kind of efficient manner, I'm guessing against, because you just have all of these different cross currents between the envoys and the State Department officials and the ambassadorships. I mean, who's really in charge? Again, Trump doesn't care, but that's the reality of what's going on. Meanwhile, in the Trump family, Ivanka Trump talks about the ugliness of politics. She wants no more part of the politics of Washington. She wants it no more. She's had enough. No mas. She's tapping out. And Ivanka, who was such a big part of the first Trump administration with her husband, Jared Kushner, she's saying, count me out of this one. Go ahead, Albert.
Politics is a pretty dark world. Like, there's a lot of darkness, a lot of negativity, and it's just really at odds with what feels good for me as a human being. And it's a really rough business. So for me and my family, it feels right to not participate.
Now,
yeah, I will remind you that she got a bunch of trademarks approved during the economic summit. That was in the first year of the Trump presidency as she accompanied Donald Trump in no official capacity. She accompanied her father, the president, to those meetings, and she got those trademarks approved. She and her husband, Jared, made a fortune in the orbit of Donald Trump living in the White House. So as ugly as stuff might have been, that ugliness paid off and big dividends to both of them as they hung out around the White House. And again, two people who never could have gotten any kind of clearance for security materials. They were big-footed by Donald Trump, her father, to get that security clearance. And that's the same thing that's happening with most of the appointments that are coming through the pipeline this time as well. Many will not be able to pass the basic background checks that look at how an appointee or nominee might be compromised in some way. And what Trump does is he says, I don't care. I want them in. I want them to have access to these materials. And that's exactly what happened. Also, the former Congressperson Billy Long from Missouri, President-elect Donald Trump, has named him to head the IRS.
What?
Yeah.
He must be really good with figures. He has a history as what, a tax accountant?
Well, he advertises his credentials as a certified tax and business advisor.
That sounds good.
Yeah, it really does. He encourages people on his X platform, because he's there on X, to message him to save 40% on your taxes.
Nice.
I've never seen anything like it.
Tax experts, though, are saying that they have never heard of his organization, the organization from which he supposedly was credentialed in the tax profession. The designation offered by a small Florida firm, Excel Empire, which was established just 2 years ago, and only requires attendance at a 3-day seminar to get this certification credential. That's in contrast to the 150 credit hours and the rigorous exams required to become an actual certified public accountant. That's just a standard certification for tax accountants. He doesn't have it. In most tax cases, only lawyers, CPAs, and enrolled agents, federally authorized tax practitioners, can represent taxpayers at the IRS. Meantime, you've got this guy who doesn't even have that certification. He's going to run the IRS under Trump. It's a remarkable thing. A prominent taxpayer advocate is saying that the modern tax industry has seen a proliferation, she says, of different groups and entities that are providing tax advice, and consumers have no way of knowing who is competent. It could be that you've taken a very short course and paid a large fee for that course, and that gives you the ability to put some initials after your name, she said. She's now the executive director of the Center for Taxpayer Rights. So his years of experience as a real estate agent and as an auctioneer, that's what he did before spending a dozen years in Congress, pales next to the deep experience in tax policy or management of the people who have held that job, like the current IRS commissioner, Danny Werfel. Danny Werfel served as acting IRS commissioner and held leadership roles at the Office of Management and Budget. He also worked in the private sector as a managing director at Boston Consulting Group. This guy Long has none of that. Long's experience in the tax world has been more narrowly focused. In the 2 years since he left Congress, he worked to bring in customers for at least 2 firms that marketed the employee retention credit. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. A pandemic-era benefit designed to support businesses that kept workers despite the losses in revenue or disruptions caused by COVID-19. Most listeners to our old show on the radio are familiar with that employee retention credit, the ERC.
But I thought Trump was supposed to surround himself with the best people, the very best.
Well,
didn't he say that? I'm going to have the best people?
We apparently are out of the best people, Kim. It just happened suddenly, and so now it is going to be people like this guy Long
with a 3-day with a certificate from a 3-day seminar.
Billy Long, he's got it, but look, he was there for all 3 days. Maybe.
Is that?
We will see what happens. But Billy Long is Donald Trump's latest to lead the Internal Revenue Service. So there you have it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Lori says, a 2024 super chat. Later, 2024. Also, happy birthday to you. Good thing about Christmas birthday is there are always people around. Bet your parents really appreciated it. A kid I know, his family celebrated his half birthday on June 25th. We did that one year. My birthday, if you're just joining us, is the day after Christmas, so it's very hard to. So people are sort of saying, yeah, you know, that's what the comment is about. So we did it one year. It's just different. You can't do the half birthday. Maybe if it's packaged the right way, it could work. But usually what happens is you invite people to a birthday party, you know, and they go, is this your birthday? When is your actual birthday? And when you're doing that half birthday thing in June, you go, well, my actual birthday is December 26th, but no one's around December 26th, so we do the half birthday then. People go, no, okay. But it's a good thing to probably try with kids. On the other hand, it's not a big deal. You get used to it. Nicholas Berthman. Wow, what a great name. Love that name, Nicholas. But I'm sorry, Bootman, maybe. Mark, give me your thoughts on Governor Gavin Newsom, residents of California, and the greater state of California leading the resistance against rump roast. Heavenly ski incidents have nothing on Capron, Austria's tragedy in 2000. Wow, there's a lot here. I think you have to be careful on adversarial footing with the new incoming administration. So I would encourage Gavin Newsom to walk softly and to whatever extent you have to carry a stick, do. But I think Trump is best managed with both a pushback and also with an ingratiating style. So if you can somehow, and this is not easy, but if you can strike that balance between ingratiation, you know, ingratiating yourself to him somehow, being complimentary to him, working that part of Trump that you just know will be responsive to that sort of thing, and you also draw the line on certain things and push back. Like you don't go full Mika and Joe, where you go down there and kiss his ring and tell him how great he is. I think that he doesn't necessarily respect that. I mean, look what he did to Mika and Joe. Mika and Joe, the Morning Joe hosts, he made fun of them. He made fun of the fact that they came down there. And that's really, I think, where he is. He doesn't respect it if you just roll over. So I think that Newsom has to be both gracious and polite, and I mean, these are, it seems obvious that, you don't want to smack talk the guy, I guess is what I'm getting at. But you also want to be prepared with the lawyers that we have in California and with the configuration of pushback that we have in California. We do have some heft at the federal level. I mean, we're a powerful economic engine of this country. All of that, I think you have to still... you have to send David Cay Johnston a link, he's saying. David Cay Johnston says, Kim, I need a link.
I thought I had sent that, but I'll do it again.
Okay, here we go. Anyway, that's my thought on how to handle it. I don't really know. I think you also have to play the ball, the way it lies. You have to see where it ends up. So... yeah, we're going to get David Cay Johnston a link, and we also have a question. Meantime, you could smash the like button if you wish. It helps us.
With your iron rod.
The great David Cay Johnston needs a link. This is an outrage here at the end of the year.
They do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
There will be a full investigation. I also want to know what happened to the pictures.
And I also want to know what happened to the pictures I was supposed to see this week.
So I'll get this man a link. What's going on?
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood.
I've never been so put off as I was that Christmas Eve when we didn't send a link to David Cay Johnston.
I sent him a link. I sent him a story about the Santa Cruz Wharf because we both went to high school in this area. So I don't know why he didn't get the
All
message.
right. Well, the investigation continues. Kim is saying there is
nothing.
No, Kim is saying there is
like-
nothing. She doesn't feel that she's done anything. She's not responsible, and
I blame you.
And she blames me. I don't know how you can blame me, but all right. All right, hang on a second.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The other thing that's going on is that we sent David Cay Johnston something. I don't think he got it. Courtney, can you just tell me what did we send David Cay Johnston?
We sent hello.
Hi, Courtney, everybody. Sorry.
Merry Christmas. Happy non-denominational holiday.
I'm bringing. This is not the official start of David Cay Johnston's segment, but I am going to bring him in though because we did send him something. I wanted to send him something. It's very hard.
Well, you didn't send him a link.
We did send him a link.
We had him and we lost him there.
No, maybe the stuff that we sent had the same fate, but we sent a handwritten note thanking him, and by we I mean you.
Yeah, I sent him a note exactly, but then we sent
explaining the gift, which was a subscription to the Paris Review.
We sent him a subscription to the Paris Review, which we thought he would really love.
And so I wrote to the Paris Review.
Because I don't think David got it. David, you didn't get that, did you?
No.
Yes, I did. It came yesterday.
Oh, it came yesterday. All right.
Oh, good.
That's great.
Okay,
all right,
great.
Good.
Wow.
And you got my note to you, sir? Did you? I sent you a note. No? You didn't get my note?
I don't think so, but...
Oh, no, I sent it. You saw me.
Yeah, I mailed it.
You mailed it.
And I mailed it. Irony here, maybe, if that's the word, is that I mailed it at the actual post office. I drove to the post office to mail it. Yeah.
Wow.
What?
Well, David, I'll have to write a note. I mean, it was a heartfelt note, and I'm really sorry that you didn't get it. But I'm glad you got it.
So you're having a birthday 2 days from now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today's my birthday.
Wow!
Oh, wow!
Are you kidding?
Oh, happy birthday! Wow!
Here I am, belly aching about a day after Christmas birthday. I think Christmas Eve might be more belly acheable. Yeah,
I never complained as a kid. I thought it was just fine.
Oh,
yeah. There's the birthday
Neither
boy.
has Mark.
Yeah. I really don't, but people always say, oh, that really sucks. And then once they say that, you go, well, you get used to it, I guess. A lot of birthday wishes for David Cay Johnston.
Yes, happy birthday.
Oh, that's really cool.
I'm glad you got our gift. I'm sorry you didn't get the explanation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we just didn't know what to get you. We wanted to get you something. We just felt you're...
Well, thank you very much. It was very nice. Not at all necessary, but thank you for the Paris Review.
Yeah. Happy birthday, David Cay Johnston. Do you get extra gifts from your 10 kids, asks Mars.
Well, there's only 8 kids.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mostly
it's a
tell
nice
them,
celebration.
You don't need to give me anything. I don't need anything at this age.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, a lot of birthday wishes coming in, and it's great to have David here. Courtney, thank you.
Thank you
he
for
did
having
get
me.
it. Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. All right.
Everything.
Courtney, everybody. Bravo. Well done.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Well, he is remarkable because he comes in on his birthday. And he is the Pulitzer Prize winner, and he is our North Star on so many different issues. From Rochester, New York, the professor from RIT. How about it for the Pulitzer Prize winner, David Cay Johnston? Yeah. Happy birthday, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, David, there's been a lot of, you're going to see all of these birthday wishes as they come in. There's just a tsunami of them, and we'll keep those on screen. The last day or so has been one that's been punctuated with, again, the president-elect, Trump, who you've written about so extensively and you've researched so extensively, talking about grabbing the Panama Canal and also grabbing Greenland. He spoke of Greenland in his first administration. The Panama Canal is something new. I wonder if you could speak to this just general disposition of grabbing territory, which he seems to feel some predisposition toward doing. And if you can give us maybe a little something on these specifics, Panama Canal and Greenland, please.
Well, most of us have a sense of this is my property, that's your property, and it's improper to take your property. Donald isn't one of those people. Donald has spent his entire life saying, oh, you have something, it belongs to me, and figuring out how to get it from people. I mean, that's the essence of what con artists are and do. Now, the Panama Canal matter, he's complaining about pricing. Ships that move through the Panama Canal are primarily American ships, followed by Chinese, either owned or commissioned ships. The problem the Panama Canal is facing is that because of climate disruption, which is a hoax, right? It's a Chinese hoax. The vast amounts of water they were using to raise ships up and then lower them back down as they go from the Pacific to the Atlantic and vice versa, they can't do. There's an obvious solution to this, which is building a huge network of pipes and tunnels to capture the water and minimize the losses at each end. That's clearly not going to be cheap. Rates have gone up. There are fewer ships going through as a result of this. But, you know, we have no rights to the Panama Canal. It's a case I know well because my late father-in-law was the lawyer who argued the case before the U.S. Supreme Court on behalf of the losing side, his friend Senator Jesse Helms. And we have no rights to the Panama Canal. And this is just Donald demonstrating two things. He doesn't know anything. He is just appallingly ignorant. But more importantly, Donald said something in his first term that didn't get nearly enough attention. He said, I have an Article 2. That's the executive article of the Constitution. I have an Article 2 that says I can do anything I want. Well, it doesn't say that at all. It's not very long. You can go read it on the internet. It's 700 words, I think, total, and 400 of them are the operative section we care about. But Donald believes that. He believes that as president, he has supreme dictatorial monarchical powers. And he's going to try and behave that way. And he's now surrounded by a bunch of ideologues, many of whom have a track record as managers. You know, unlike Donald, who's an utterly incompetent manager, they know how to manage, and they're going to guide him in various ways. And then also remember that a key to Donald's success is chaos. Keep things stirred up, get people focused on what you want them focused on, so they don't focus on the important things that are happening. So here, I think, is the most important thing we've seen in the past week. On an earlier episode, I said you're going to see an all-out assault on news organizations. And the ABC network, which is owned by Disney, indicated that it decided that it was going to settle a suit it was sure to win, give $15 million to the future Trump library and $1 million to Trump lawyers when there's no case there. This is what the great Professor Timothy Snyder at Yale calls a voluntary obedience. Brian Stelter, briefly a colleague of mine at the New York Times, longtime CNN media reporter, has a piece out today showing that the incoming head of the FCC, he's already a commissioner, Trump will promote him to be a chairman, is going after ABC and saying, you know, you're a bad influence. He doesn't quite call him an enemy of the people, but basically trying to intimidate them in their national news reports and their relationship with affiliate stations. There is, in Europe, as the link you sent me showed, a significant increase in lawsuits brought to slap reporters around, a strategic lawsuit brought to try and stop publication of something. And I think we're going to see, beginning January 20th, a really severe attack on the First Amendment. Now, finally, the incoming chair of the FCC has gone after Stephen Brill, the journalist entrepreneur who was behind Court TV and The American Lawyer, who is a very, very deeply fact-based person. Anybody who ever worked for him, I did not, but anybody who does, they will always tell you he was fanatical about making sure every detail was correct and was in its proper place in the universe. And his partner, the former publisher of the Wall Street Journal, are running a news service dealing with how reliable are the various big news organizations. They got 50 people on their payroll, so that's a real business. And the incoming Trump FCC chair is going after them.
Right. They really literally just rate the credibility of news sites. And
that's right. And some news sites, notably Newsmax and OAN, get very, very low credibility ratings. And the reason is they don't have any credibility. But the incoming FCC chairman is suggesting that this is an improper business. Well, what's improper here is Congress shall pass no law. The administration is not in a place to police any news organization. They can complain if they want, but they should not be using their police powers in any way. And even the implication in this letter is enough that it's a violation. And after all, the guy who's Brill's partner, he was the publisher of the Wall Street Journal. He's not some bleeding heart liberal Democrat who thinks Nancy Pelosi is too conservative. He's on the other end of the spectrum. But the campaign will be to rein in news organizations. I expect you're going to see civil suits filed against the New York Times, the Washington Post, other big news organizations, if nothing else, to soak up their resources so they can't put them into news.
Oh, that's just such a great point. I didn't even think of that. They just essentially want to keep them busy, distract them, and soak them because it costs money to fight these things.
Yeah.
NewsGuard is what it's called. That's what David's talking about. It launched fighting disinformation. It was still a bipartisan battle, it's noted by the Washington Post in discussing NewsGuard. Revelations the year before that Kremlin-backed operatives had manipulated American social networks to mislead and divide Americans, had shaken Silicon Valley, and troubled Republicans and Democrats alike. That's the odd thing to me, David. It's become this thing, as you suggested. Now it's just pursued. The jihad against it is really from this administration, I guess the GOP, to the extent that they've signed on with this administration. But as you've also said, they balance their entire board. They balance those involved so beautifully that it would seem to be a fairly neutral kind of evaluation of these news sites and credibility.
And credible and rounded news is the worst possible thing to Donald Trump, because he knows that places like OAN and Fox basically appeal to people who already just can't. So what he needs to do is destroy the credibility or destroy the capacity of serious independent news organizations to do their work. Now, I forget who it is, but somebody in the administration, it may have been Musk or Bannon. And when I say the administration in this case, there are people who will never have an official title, but they're clearly part of this administration. He has proposed that all news organizations be banned from the White House press room except Fox. Now, there's no constitutional requirement that there be press briefings. There was discussion in the first Trump administration of moving the press room out of the White House to a building some distance away.
They did cut down on those briefings too, David. Remember, there weren't daily briefings anymore under a Trump administration.
Absolutely, when you're in the White House press room, you have some access to the nearby area of the White House. They can cut that off. They can do what they do at the press conferences: is pen people in and issue orders. You may only point a camera in this direction, things like that. And that's what you're about to see is after all, if you want to be a dictator, you need to control information. There's no independent news in Russia. Many Russian bureaus are now actually run out of places like Ankara or Istanbul or other countries. They're not in Russia because it's dangerous for the journalists to be there, as we saw with Evan Gersovich, who spent more than a year held by Putin as part of his campaign to intimidate journalists. And Trump's going to go full bore on this. He's going to go after the New York Times every way he can. He may go so far as to literally ask Congress to pass a law that journalists have to submit articles to him for his approval, which is completely against the First Amendment. But don't be shocked that it won't happen, but somebody proposes something like this. And a constant drumbeat of they're the liars. trust me, I am the only source. I, Donald Trump, I alone am your savior. I alone know the truth. And all these other people, you can't trust them. They're the enemy of the people. And
it's interesting too, David, that's maybe, and I really think back to some of what you've said when you talk about his fight against the press. It may be one of the more effective things he's done. I mean, effective, awful. I mean, I think it's despicable, and it's had a toxicity, though, that has had a ripple effect across media so that people don't trust what they're seeing.
Right.
You don't trust your lying eyes type thing. And so his attack on media and the fake news thing has been the gift that Trump has been giving himself. And it's, I think, been extremely effective. And it's thrown us into these silos of news and echo chambers that essentially lead us to the kind of election outcome that we've just seen.
Absolutely, Mark. Every day I see things that come across the social media I follow. The news media won't tell you this. And I often take a moment, go find a couple of clips. Sorry about the visiting dog. Go find a couple of news clips and say, that's simply not true. Here, found in 5 seconds, are 2 links to show you that that's not true. And people come back and say, well, that's all you could find were 2 links. So, we know that you're a liar too. And once you get people into this mindset that journalists are the enemy of the people, the only people who are paid to tell you the truth as best they can establish it. That's the only occupation where that's what you get paid to do, is tell the truth as best you can. Once you break that down, then you can begin to get people to believe, that you are the savior. God anointed you. And there are all sorts of people who will say, yeah, right, the guy had the kids with 3 wives and lots of affairs and cheated people here and there, but God chose him for reasons that are mysterious to us. This is God's choice. And once you get to that level of thinking, there's no more reasonable and rational thought going on. And democracy requires reasonable and rational thought. That's the principles on which it was based. And this is not limited to people with the limited reading skills that we've talked about previously. I once sat down next to a guy on a coast-to-coast flight wearing his $4,000 suit, who he saw my New York Times and said, read that. It's just opinions. And I said, I just bought it in the airport. And I cajoled him into going through the paper. And he couldn't find anything until he got to Paul Krugman's column. And he goes, well, look at this. This is just opinion. So at that point, I introduced myself, explained who I was. And this guy is a high-level executive at one of the Wall Street banks. He doesn't read. This was 20 years ago. This happened, by the way. I'm almost 25 now. He never had read a newspaper. He didn't know that there's an opinion section and an op-ed page and a news department. And he is not unique about that. He's unusual, but he is absolutely not unique about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And also, just yesterday, I was having a conversation with someone, to your first point, and talking about it's a sleight of hand thing that's done where you go, well, you preface whatever you're going to say by saying, well, the mainstream media won't tell you this, and then you continue with whatever you're going to say. It's become so hackneyed that it couldn't possibly be true. And yet it is the thing that's repeated over and over again. And everybody goes, yeah, well, I'm not into the mainstream media. Of course, mainstream media won't tell you. Corporate media. I mean, there is still real journalism being done by the mainstream media and by corporate media. There's
lots of real journalism being done. And there's a dispute going on right now between the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. The Journal ran an op-ed by a contributor, not a staff member. I don't think he is a staff member, that said the New York Times didn't cover at all a big issue to help Biden. The editors of the Times sent them a letter pointing out that here are 24 articles that ran in the last several months before the election, and here's how many of them ran on the front page. So what the Journal person wrote is just a flat out either completely wrong factually or a lie. If he knew it was true and did it anyway, that's a lie, which would constitute actual malice.
And by the way,
Journal
David,
has not run a correction, Mark. They have not run a correction. And that's surprising, because whatever I might think of the opinions and the opinion pages of the Wall Street Journal, which are pretty out there, and they've written many editorials about my work without ever naming me, they all at least had a color of, they're taking a jaundiced view of what I wrote. But just being completely wrong and not correcting the record, that's a very troubling sign of where things are going. And let's remember that the immigrant Rupert Murdoch is very closely allied with Donald Trump, and so is his son Lachlan, whom he's failing so far in court, but trying to make sure Lachlan runs the business, not the other children who are somewhat more centrist in their view.
Yeah, that's a tug of war that's going on in the Murdoch world. And by the way, it's funny on that New York Times thing, because the libs will tell you, anybody left or anybody even in the Biden sort of centrist area, that they view the New York Times as carrying the water for the GOP, carrying the water for Trump. I mean, that was a big criticism. So the idea somehow that the New York Times was the opposite, they were tough on Trump, but they were quiet about Biden. No, I just don't see that squaring with anything I saw. I want to double back to Greenland for a second, David, and just give me a second on that. All right, and because Greenland is increasingly strategically important. I get it. I mean, I understand why it's in Trump's brain, probably because somebody mentioned it to him. But could you speak to, his plans, the reality, the follow through, and the strategy?
So Greenland, which is a lot smaller than you might think, if you get a proper map perspective, you'll see it's about 9% or 10% the size of Africa. But on maps, because of the Mercator projection, it looks huge. Greenland at one time in the history of the Earth, was a tropical paradise, just like Michigan and where I am were full of things like alligators and swamps and coral reefs. And there's a lot of valuable minerals underneath the Greenland ice cap. Donald has this notion that he can just buy Greenland. I mean, it's just a piece of property. Never mind that it's a semi-sovereign entity under Danish control. The Danes aren't going to give it up, and I think there are only about 16,000 permanent residents of Greenland. They're not going to want to be part of the U.S. either. But Donald has this notion that, everything's for sale. Everything has a price. And the few times in his life he's discovered people don't have a price. My friend Wayne Barrett, me, we don't have a price. He doesn't know what to do, because in his world, everything is transactional. You just put up enough money or whatever it is someone wants, and you'll get it. So this idea that Greenland should become part of the U.S., I think, is fundamentally just one of his distraction things, to get us to look at something that isn't going to happen instead of focusing our attention elsewhere. A distraction is very important. Donald has many skills that I admire, and one of them is there's an issue where the water is crystal clear what the issue is. And Donald has this incredible ability to muddy the waters. And then we go, well, I don't know, we can't quite see what's going on there. Or isn't that fascinating? There's colors in that mud, instead of, being established with the facts and satisfied with the facts.
Yeah, that's interesting. And kind of, I guess, given the, as you suggest, sort of the limitations in terms of what you could actually do as a leader, even of the most powerful nation on earth, it makes sense that it would fall into the distraction category, although success with the distraction, because it's what we're talking about. It's made the news cycle, and it's quite prominent, I want to get to quickly his appointments and his nominees and handicapping them. I mean, we saw Gates go away, and now we've seen the Gates report laid bare, and you could see all that ugliness.
You can see why he didn't want that report out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But the other appointments that he's made and these nominations, they involve, I'd suggest, questions, except maybe Pete Hegseth does have some overlap in the area of, kind of a decadent frat boy, drunk all the time, sexual abuser type person. Apart from him, it would be a question of competence and a question of being compromised, like a Tulsi Gabbard. I wonder if you can just give us a sense for whether or not many of these still highly controversial nominations will likely get through the process.
Well, how many of them will get through the process is going to depend on how craven the Senate Republicans are. I mean, we know that most of them, people like Tommy Tuberville, they're just going to vote for whatever Donald wants. But, you know, Susan Collins always speaks a good game and then she folds. But Lisa Murkowski probably not going to fold on issues, some important issues. And we'll see how a couple of others do. Donald has made it clear that if you're a senator and you don't just do what he says, he'll primary you. And Joni Ernst, I believe, is up in 2 years in Iowa. So she may well back down from her disapproval of Hegseth and Patel. But the bigger picture, the thing we need to keep our mind on, is Donald Trump intends to destroy the federal government as we have known it so that he can be our dictator. A dysfunctional government benefits him. It's bad for commerce. It's bad for civil liberties. It's bad for economic growth. But it's great for a power monger. And that's Donald's focus. You know, he used to say, I only hire the best people, the very best people, hire the best people. And we saw the first administration that wasn't true. And this time around, that's a joke. He's hiring literally the worst imaginable people. And the reason's very simple. Steve Bannon said in 2015 and 16, we're going to deconstruct the administrative state. That's fancy language for we're going to destroy the federal government as you've known it. And having this fictional division of government efficiency, the Department of Government Efficiency, with the two billionaires, I'm assuming Ramaswamy is really a billionaire, Musk clearly is, who have no official position. That's just an opportunity to further wreak havoc. And here's why you should think about this matters. I did this with my law students. If our classroom was the whole world and somebody who makes food in our group gets people sick, we can deal with that. You know, hey, don't do it again. And if you do it again and somebody gets sick and dies, we may kill you. We may take away, you're not going to make food anymore. But when you buy food today at the grocery store, you don't know where it came from. You know, we have these huge slaughterhouses that mix beef from, you know, different cows, from cattle, from different farms, from different places. There's a reason that cans, if you buy canned vegetables, on the bottom of the can, there's a code. What do all those letters and numbers mean? It allows them with that can to, in a matter of minutes, find out this is where this can was filled. Here's the day it was done. And there are records on, well, where did the products that went into it and who was working at the time. It's a food safety measure. And just as you don't want to live in a large city without a police intelligence function, but you need to control that function so they're actually working on things police intelligence should work on, and not what we continually see around the country, the falderall of political games and going after political enemies or religious opponents. You need to have food safety regulations and rules and the money to make sure that we do the right thing. But we're about to put in charge of healthcare in this country a man who believes that vaccines cause harm and wants to stop the polio virus vaccine. You know, this is the pro-polio lobby. I think it would be reasonable to argue the pro-smallpox lobby, the pro-measles lobby, which means, by the way, the pro-death lobby, the pro-blindness lobby. And so we shouldn't lose sight of Trump's game here. Trump wants absolute power. The way to get absolute power is to take the federal government, which is a huge, sprawling, fractious operation with lots of different contending things, and vanquish it so that all bow down to Donald.
You know, David, I'm reminded of the fact that there was a push during the coup attempt after the 2020 election to try to declare martial law. It was being suggested. That's why I say it was a push. It was one of the strategies that was being suggested. And the way that you could declare martial law is to declare that there is such chaos that we must impose this martial law. So I see that kind of strategy that you've described, like where you install yourself as the leader because the country has now reached a threshold of chaos that is such that we can't do it constitutionally anymore. I see that as very much something that Trump has his eyes on.
I'm not, what I'm going to say, I'm not predicting will happen, but I will not be the least bit surprised if it does happen, that Donald Trump, invoking Abraham Lincoln, will suspend habeas corpus at some point. Habeas corpus is the right to be seen by a magistrate. You get arrested, the infamous, you get one phone call. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus during the Civil War. Donald keeps saying we're in a state of national emergency, we're in a disaster, we're in a crisis. All of that is setting up his ability to make that claim. This is the key and important point about that people don't know. Under our Constitution, habeas corpus is not a right. Go look at the Fifth Amendment. It says the privilege of habeas corpus shall not be suspended except at time of insurrection, or I think it's occupation or something else. I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact words at the moment. But in a wartime, in a Civil War, it made sense that Lincoln would do this. I wish he hadn't done it, but he was within his rights as president under the Constitution. Trump's going to try to do the same thing. Then he can lock up people who are troublesome to him, and he doesn't have to give them their day in court. This is a classic dictatorial move. And they've already tried to go after Congress. Matt Gaetz went to court trying to stop release of the Ethics Committee report. My goodness, they got multiple witnesses of this 17-year-old girl he paid sex for. That's statutory rape in Florida. $90,000 spent on prostitution and drugs. $90,000. Of course, Matt Gaetz is a rich kid, so it's not like, he was flipping hamburgers before he got into the Senate. And Donald Trump was going to make him the Attorney General, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States. But going to court, trying to ask a judge to block Congress from doing something which no court has the authority to do, is a sign of how the checks and balances built into our Constitution are going to be ignored. They're going to be plowed over. They're going to be bent. So don't be surprised at any of these things. Just don't lose sight of the big picture. Donald's goal is dictatorial power. And the way you get to dictatorial power is you vanquish the existing order and you put in place people who will do whatever you tell them to do. And the biggest thing people should be watching for is if Trump starts firing admirals and generals and promoting junior officers to replace them, because that is the classic sign of a dictatorial takeover. And there are always, we do a really terrific job in this country of having a non-political officer corps, even though it's very heavily Republican. It was about 50-50 Republicans and Democrats until Reagan, and then it began to change, and it's now overwhelmingly Republican. And in the Air Force, we have a serious problem that's gone on for years, that non-believers, Jewish officers, and members of some Christian denominations can't get their careers going in that branch of the service. There's been a lot written about this by the New York Times and others going back, 25 years. But overall, we do a very good job of having a professional officer corps at the top. But there are always junior officers, captains, majors, lieutenant colonels. Lieutenant colonel is not quite a junior officer, who will sell out their country for their own glory or ideology. And Donald, I assure you, is going to have people looking for who are these people we can trust and rely, because he has said he wants to use the American military against the American people.
Well, look at Mike Flynn. I mean, he is someone who really scares me, and he is a Christo-fascist with military experience, and Trump has said he wants to bring him back into the administration. And
Barack Obama told Donald Trump before Trump took the oath of office, this guy is dangerous. He's not loyal. Keep him away. So, of course, immediately Donald Trump made him his national security advisor, where, if I recall, he lasted 28 days, 4 weeks.
That's right. Yeah. So Well, what I get from this here on your birthday, David Cay Johnston, is that at least Greenland and Panama Canal are falling into the distraction category, kind of controlled chaos that Trump likes to stir up regularly. The appointment stuff really scares me because you have people who are utter novices, don't know what they're doing. I mean, Pete Hegseth couldn't find the men's room at the Pentagon, and he's going to run it. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous.
Right. But he won't. At least he won't be drinking if he gets the appointment.
That's right. I'm sure
but Mark, before we go, just one thing people should think about: the tariffs that are coming, which we talked about last week. How that allows domestic manufacturers to raise prices, and it's really a scheme to redistribute money by pulling money out of the pockets of consumers and turning over to the pockets of people who own manufacturing companies. We shouldn't forget that. Tariffs are two-way streets. China can mess with us a lot because they have significant reserves of some of the rare earth minerals like neodymium, which we need. Canada, we do a great deal of trade with Canada, and a lot of it's essential to our manufacturing processes in the U.S. The Canadians can respond. Mexico. You want grocery prices lower? Don't mess with Mexico, because when you go to the grocery store, whether it's here in Rochester, New York, or it's in Southern California where you live, it's highly likely that your raspberries and your avocados and other fruits that perish quickly come from Mexico. And the Mexicans can do all sorts of things to drive up those prices and interfere with our commerce. So Donald's notion that, he has this power that no one can respond to will get a very rude awakening, because President Xi is no weakling here. And I think we'll see that our two biggest trading partners, Canada and Mexico, are not going to just roll over for Donald.
Well, also, I mean, a trade war, isn't it true, David? You really just don't want to get into multiple trade wars, I wouldn't think. Especially, I mean, you're the new kid back in, hey, I'm back, and let's start some trade wars. I mean, that's kind of where he is.
Right, but if you have a megalomaniac mind, I mean, Donald really does believe, people need to know this, it's not a fraud. Donald really believes that he should run everything, that everybody else is an idiot, and, he's special. And it's this fictional world he's created. When he creates his own reality, but this is not. Don't look at him and think he's some cynical fraud. He believes this stuff. And after all, based on the fact that he's gotten to the White House twice, why shouldn't he believe it? That someone like him can pull this off. He does need to be reminded all the time. He never got 50% of the vote, and he only won by 1.5 percentage points. This is not a mandate, although he keeps trying to get that into the news. And unfortunately, news organizations on running stories tend to develop a sort of herd mentality. This or that organization will break part of the story, but once a narrative is set for a story, everybody sort of goes along with that. So I've noticed the narrative that persistently out of control inflation or high inflation is a continuing theme in news accounts, even though inflation right now is significantly below the post-World War II average. So by no reasonable definition is it high or out of control. But once that's in the narrative, it's very hard to change that, because it becomes what in newsrooms is called shorthand. Shorthand is fine, but it must be truthful shorthand, accurate shorthand, not what we're seeing with things like, persistent high inflation, which is nonsense.
Sure. But as you say, it's become such a familiar refrain that it continues to be used. We're out of time, David. I want to just let you know that the world has wished you a happy birthday. I can't even post all of the comments. We're all so grateful for everything you do. What a great resource that we've happened upon.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, Kwanzaa, etc. Whatever makes you joy for you and your family at the end of the year. Enjoy it.
Yes, indeed. And to you, happy birthday, sir. The great David Cay Johnston.
Take care.
We'll talk next week. See you, David. Very cool.
Do you feel it? It's the Mark Thompson Show.
This is Mark Thompson.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. How special to be with you all on the holidays. Whatever your holiday jam is, happy non-denominational holidays. Fresh off the press comes Michael Snyder in the next half hour. Also, Jefferson Graham, the tech guru, will be through. So I'm just looking. Let me look at the clock here and figure out how to do this. I think we need to go right to Jefferson Graham, don't we, Kim? Isn't that the would you recommend that?
That's exactly what I think we should do.
All right. So smash the like button if you would be so nice. Smash it like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
And subscribe if you haven't. It costs you nothing to subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of good stuff on this channel. We got a lot of great guests, good conversations, some light stuff, some heavy stuff. And we hope you'll be with us through the new year. We really shout out all of our supporters who keep us on the air. And those are mostly Patreon and PayPal people who find our Patreon and PayPal through the links underneath all of our videos. There are links to Patreon and PayPal. But also the people who hit us with super stickers and super chats every day. Wow, that's so key as well. I mean, we are crowd-funded, and so I appreciate you in the crowd helping to fund us. So thank you. All right, so
The Mark Thompson Show.
This guy was the longtime tech writer at USA Today. Now he's out on his own with PhotoWalks TV. How about it for Jefferson Graham? Hello, Jefferson Graham. There
Hello.
With your fake background. Look at you with your Ray-Ban. Those the new Meta glasses, or what are those, Jeff?
Yeah, these are the Meta glasses that sell for around $300. One of the biggest hits of the year. Facebook ate Apple's lunch here, and they're gonna start adding. Right now, it's a video camera, and you could say, "Hey Meta, what time is it? How do I get here? How do I get there? Who is Mark Thompson anyway?" But
Sure.
they're gonna add displays in there, and you're gonna be able to see some things. I don't know that that's going to work so well, because I remember Google Glass, and I remember how faint it was to have this image right in front of your eyes while you're walking down the street. A little weird. But for $300, you get some nice glasses and some new technology stuff, and have some fun with it. And a lot of people are having fun. I checked on Amazon before we went on the air here. And if you buy them now, you can get them by Friday.
Wow, that's extraordinary. And so when you wear them, you're saying you will see an image of some kind if you're doing some kind of map check or some kind of info check. You'll see an image in your glasses, but nobody else will see that image?
Yeah, nobody else will see them. They'll be from your eye to the other side of the glass. And I don't know how faint that image will be. Usually it is. We'll see. Apparently, they came out with this prototype at a developer conference earlier this year that people loved. And as you know, we've spoken about the Apple $3,500 headset that was a big bomb this year. And not that anybody expected it to be that big of a hit at $3,500. But for $300, you're getting new technology. You're getting the future in something that doesn't cost $3,500. How about that?
So how much does it cost?
$329 to be exact.
So it really is price to move. I think the big thing is that it'll video people. Isn't that it?
Yeah, well, that's what I like.
Well, I mean, that's what I would think everybody would like, because I don't know that you need it for Google search, do you?
I don't need it to say what time it is. I don't need to say,
Sure.
hey, what's the weather? I can pick up the phone for that. But I do like making videos. Though, if you recall, when you wear them, you better keep your head straight, because if you start doing a lot of this, the images are really, really shaky.
Sure, of course, of course. And again, when you are recording, there's a red light that can be seen.
A white light. Good luck to anybody figuring out what you're doing, because if you're out in the field in the daytime, they're not going to see it. If you're sitting in a dark restaurant, they will see it. They might say, hey, mister, what's with the flashing light on your glasses? But it hasn't happened to me yet.
And of course, you can put, a piece of whatever, gaffer's tape or electric tape or whatever over it, and you wouldn't be able to even see that light anymore.
Right. You could do that. You could do
that. I don't know. I'm not getting them, but I'm just thinking. I mean, also these are early iterations. Maybe they'll. Yeah. I feel as though there'll be some refined version of it in 18 months that might be even a little bit better.
Yeah, because they have to sell new ones every year. Everybody says, "What's new? What's new?" They can't just keep selling the same product, right?
It is true. It is true. What else can you tell us, Jefferson Graham?
I want to tell you about two stories that happened, two things that happened to me because I'm an idiot. First of all, when I was staying at a hotel in San Francisco, I left behind my little GoPro camera. Easy to do because I only brought 5 phones and I brought cables and chargers and my laptop and 2 tripods and all this stuff. I left behind a little GoPro, and I also left behind a jacket. And I didn't even remember the jacket, but I called the hotel. I said, "Hey, did I leave a GoPro in that room?" They said, "You sure did." I said, "Would you put it in the mail and send it to me?" They said, "Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to send you a link, and you're going to go to a website, and it's called ileftmystuff.com. And you're going to fill out a form on there, and you're going to put in your credit card information and your address. And then once we get that, we'll get a label and we'll mail it to you." So ileftmystuff.com works with 8,700 hotels. Over 500,000 people have had their stuff returned thanks to this app. So that was a new one.
How much did it cost you to get the GoPro returned?
Okay, so let's take some guesses from the crowd. How much does it cost to have a GoPro returned to you?
Domestically, so it's in this country, yeah. Okay.
San Francisco to Los Angeles. Do we have any guesses? There was also a jacket, but you know, a GoPro you could stick it in an envelope.
Well, do they return the jacket or not?
It hasn't arrived yet, but it should arrive.
But you asked for both the jacket and the GoPro.
Yeah. What's the total cost? The total cost.
There are guests on a screen: 20, 10, 30. I'm seeing, and $9.99. I'm seeing. $20 says Sheila.
A big jacket. Come on.
I get it. These are just guesses, Jeff. Relax. UPS, $20. I will give you the right answer, even though I don't know. I'm going to take my guess, which will be the best guess. I'll give it to you in just a moment. $19.99 says Oakland DB. Kurt says 45, which seems closest. 50 says just give me the truth. Martha said same. Norm says 350. Underdog 25. Just gave me the truth says now 50. I changed my mind, he says. So on ileftmystuff.com, what does it cost? I am going to guess it cost you $60. Am I close?
My guess was $200. I figured they had me for $200 because how am I going to get my coat back and my GoPro? Okay. What I paid was not $60. Not 50, not 40. I paid 35, which I think is an incredible bargain.
Terrific,
right?
$35.
Yeah, and now remember that the hotel has to get a box. They have to put the stuff in a box. They have to put peanuts in it or whatever, and they have to tape the box together, and then they have to put the label on it. I mean, it's a pain in the butt for them.
Just a quick note: shout out Knit One Pearl One did have 35 was the guess. Also, I'm reminded of when I lost my bag. I didn't lose them. They lost my bags, remember, from the cruise ship in Chile? So the cruise ship comes up to the port. They say, put the bags outside of your room, and they'll be waiting for you on the dock. This is at the port. And in that 500 feet between the boat and the port, they lost my bags. It took 2 months to get them back. Do you remember how much that cost me? It was an organization like ileftmystuff.com. It wasn't ileftmystuff.com, but
my guess is $500.
Yeah, that is a cute guess. It cost $4,200 to get them back. Now you can say, well, you didn't pay $4,200.
What?
I didn't. I paid it, and they reimbursed me. The cruise line reimbursed me. But if I hadn't had some ins to the cruise line, I would have been on the hook for that, or I would have said goodbye to my stuff.
You get nothing.
Yeah, ileftmystuff.com sounds a lot more reasonable than the organization I was dealing with. You know.
Let me quickly give you another lost story because I was in a Lyft car in San Francisco, and I took like 6 of them. And it's nighttime. I got my tripod. I got my backpack. It's dark. I get out of the car. The minute they drove away, I realized I'd left my phone and wallet in the car. Okay. So now what does one do? How do you call them?
Yeah, since they have your phone.
They have my phone. There's a thing in the app that says call the driver. Well, I didn't have my phone. I did have other phones because, as you know, I always go around with multiple phones. So I tried going on the app, but I didn't have a phone signal. And so I couldn't connect to to them. It was the most frustrating thing of all time. The hotel clerk at the same hotel that boxed up my stuff was really nice. And she went on Lyft.com and she started communicating with their customer support people on the computer. And we actually got everything back within 2 hours. But
wow.
So frustrating. You can't call them because your phone's in their car. It has, I mean, I can't be the first person this happened to. It was,
I left my stuff in San Francisco, says a commentator. I hope you tipped that concierge handsomely.
I left a rave review on TripAdvisor, and I wrote to the general manager asking her to give Rebecca, the greatest person in the world, a big raise.
I would have given her $100 right on the spot. I'm not kidding. And and the fact that you didn't do that is disgusting to me.
Good day, sir.
All right.
There's a good answer for that. I didn't have it because I didn't have any cash. Okay.
Oh, that's okay. All right. Good. So I retract that then. All right. Now, Jeff, you seem to me to be so together, but I'm now realizing you're someone who leaves your crap all over the place. What is the issue with that?
I brought too much stuff. I mean,
you really do.
Well, in the room,
you can't keep track of your wallet and phone. I mean, I'm thinking when you get a wallet and phone, oh my God, I left my wallet and phone. You did? I mean,
same thing. So it's the same thing. Wallet and phone is right.
I see. Okay. So it's just the one item.
It was in the dark. It was in the dark.
Okay.
20,000 steps. I had done 20,000 steps that day, you know?
So I have to think, last thing, that there is a tech fix for your problem and the problem that's shared by many, which is that you have a lot of stuff and you tend to kind of lose some of it from time to time, even some of these critical things. There has to be a tech answer, like the Apple Tag answer for, some of the stuff that's gone missing. It'll show you where it is. You need a backup phone or some kind that maybe parallels the phone that but can it parallel the main phone?
Yeah, but I only have service on one.
But you have service, you have Wi-Fi, right?
Yeah, Wi-Fi, but the Lyft app won't let you call the driver without, you have to call the driver from the same app that you made the reservation on.
I see. So it doesn't really parallel the phone. Okay. Well, we're getting into the weeds a
little
bit.
But I did have the Lyft app on the phone. So there.
I'm glad all's well that ends well. It has a Christmas ending, a Hollywood ending, which makes me feel good. So, Jeff, we love that you're with us all year. We love your exotic travels and the way that you catalog them there on Photo Walks TV, the YouTube series that we helped launch on this channel.
Thank you.
We're really responsible for a lot of your success, aren't we, Jeff?
Yes, my life changed when I met you.
Wouldn't you like to say something flowery here at the end of the year? Let me tell you, you don't have to do it today because next week we'll be on the air next Tuesday. Save your end of your comments. Find something good. I'll put a little.
There's never been anything like Mark Thompson.
There you go.
There's never been anything like him.
There's never been anything like this.
I have a mug with the "never been anything like it" a phrase emblazoned on that mug, and it's got your name on it, sir. So I'm hoping that you'll.
I've never seen anything like it.
I'm looking forward to.
Thank you for 52 or 48 or whatever it's been. Amazing Tuesdays this year. In 2024.
We've had a great time with you, and I look forward to many more, and we'll talk to you next week. Jefferson Graham, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, Jeff.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, Albert, thank you.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Smash the like button if you would. It's a great day on this Christmas Eve, and I appreciate everybody being here. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Happy holidays, everybody. Whatever your jam, we are glad you are here. It is quite exciting that Michael Snyder, as I'd noted, the culture blaster, reached out to us, and he said, I just feel compelled as a critic and someone who is a contributor to the show, I feel compelled to tell you that there are movies for the holidays that need to be reviewed, and I want to share those reviews with your audience, but also these are movies that might take on a significance when it comes to the Oscar buzz, and you're going to hear a lot of talk about these movies. So, again, I feel responsible to your audience to at least let them know about these films. Can I make a special trip to your show, even though I'm normally there on Fridays? Can I come in on Christmas Eve and share these reviews with you, since we're not going to be on the air on Friday? I talked to Kim. I met with the tribal elders, and Michael Snyder will be joining us. And now I do want to say that this man knows movies. He knows music. He knows the world of culture. He knows the Marvel universe, the DC universe. He knows the subtitled movies. He knows whatever you've got in your plans. He can give you the review. He's the great culture blaster, Michael Snyder. Michael, welcome and happy holidays.
Thank you, and same to you and Kim and Albert and obviously our fabulous audience. It's a bonus Christmas Eve culture blast on the Thompson Show.
Oh, yes.
You know, I'm happy to be here. Also happy to wish you a happy birthday. May I be the next in line to wish you a happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Because we're not going to be on the air. And since we're not going to be on the air until after the new year, otherwise, I thought, let's just do this. There are important films and they are in the offing. Quick note, it is the holidays, and last night, I'm in Los Angeles, and I went to the Tam O'Shanter Pub on Los Feliz, and I enjoyed carolers in full Edwardian garb singing a 4-part harmony version of Eartha Kitt's sultry Santa Baby. I mean, I get the feeling that Charles Dickens would have found his pantaloons tightening if he had been in the house. It was, what are they doing singing Santa Baby? I assure you, all the merry gentlemen were not resting when this performance was going on.
Very fun.
Anyway,
fun.
It was just the holiday spirit stuff. By the way, is it just me, or are Trump's special envoys usually special, like in special ed?
No, they are. Yeah, that's something. By the way, I wanted to thank you for your recommendation. Kurt has noted it as well. His recommendation for Carry On was excellent. I watched it, and it was great. I, too, watched it. Courtney and I watched it, and we really liked it, Michael Snyder.
I'm glad to hear that. And, in fact, you did suggest that I thought of it as a replacement for the first Die Hard movie. But, no, I just think it's in that spirit, and certainly it's exciting and fun to have a new action hero or a recent action hero like Taron Egerton do something like...
that Egerton family is pretty... who's the brother? The brother's Joel or something? Or
no relation.
Oh, he's not any relation?
One of them has a D in his name, Joel, and Taron just has...
Oh, that's interesting. I thought it was they were brothers. Okay.
No, it's one of those weird, it's a phoneme. I don't think that's what it's similar sounding. Okay, so Oscar buzz is in the air. And let's kick things off with one of my favorite films of the year. And in fact, when we get back together after the first of the year, I'm going to talk about my favorite films of 2024. And this is one of them. It's called A Complete Unknown. It drops into the life of 19-year-old folk singer-songwriter Bob Dylan.
Hang on one second. Do we not have any visuals with this?
I'm looking.
Oh, you're looking. Okay. Good.
I have sent many visuals.
All right, okay.
Albert, thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Anyway,
sorry, A Complete Unknown, you were
Dylan
saying.
is 19 years old. He arrives in New York City. It's 1961, and he's presumably seeking fame and maybe fortune as a performer. So this follows the kid from Hibbing, Minnesota, Dylan born Robert Zimmerman, by the way, as he carves out a career in the Manhattan clubs, meets and interacts with his heroes and peers, including Pete Seeger, who takes him under his wing, Woody Guthrie, who he idolized and was very ill at the time of Dylan's arrival in New York, and the country legend Johnny Cash, who gets to know Dylan's work and becomes a comrade. Dylan finds romance of sorts with a young woman who ends up being on the cover of his album, The Freewheeling Bob Dylan, by the way. And he gets a recording contract. Otherwise, that record doesn't come out. He attains a measure of stardom, and then he risks his status as a folk music icon by embracing rock and roll. And that's basically the section of Dylan's life that A Complete Unknown deals with. The title is taken from the lyric in the classic Dylan folk rock song, Like a Rolling Stone, A Complete Unknown. My horrible Dylan impression, I apologize. And This movie features what to me is the most impressive and fully realized performance of Timothée Chalamet's career to date. Not only does he manage to embody Dylan physically, his brilliance, his drive, and his diffidence, you can hit the ding.
Yeah, diffidence is definitely ding.
While evoking the appearance of the man in his 20s, he actually sings the songs and plays the guitar in a convincing fashion. So it's so convincing that it could almost pass as lip syncing, and it's not. Unlike, say, Angelina Jolie in the Maria Callas biopic, Maria, there's no way she's singing like one of the greatest opera divas ever, but Chalamet pulls it off, and to my ears does it better than, for instance, Austin Butler in Elvis pulls off Presley. And in fact, the same goes for Edward Norton as Pete Seeger, who learned to play the banjo. Monica Barbaro as Joan Baez, who sings beautifully, although, you know, she looks a little more like Joan's prettier sister, Mimi Farina, but it is the movies. So I'll give them a pass. And even Boyd Holbrook as Johnny Cash. The movie does not necessarily say the how of Dylan, despite Chalamet's remarkable impression of his howl, but it does suggest the why of him. And he goes for pivotal moments like a series of snapshots, some bold, some inscrutable, kind of like Dylan himself. So we see his ascent and his quiet reserve at the start and the willful power he could wield after attaining, I don't know, folk music godhood. Partly the man, but mostly the legend and the myth, with the enactment of these watershed electric events in his life as he records his first album with an electric band, kind of rock backing. And in July of 1965 at the Newport Folk Festival, where the purists were shocked and even appalled and offended by his shift into rock. And this had already been presaged in the studio with the March 1965 release of Bringing It All Back Home. I mean, these people, I mean, ostensibly fans, not listen to his latest album that came out 4 months before going to Newport? I don't know. But it's pretty wonderful. The terrific young actress Elle Fanning, who was the star of The Great, she plays Catherine the Great in the TV show. She plays his girlfriend at the time, and they call her Sylvie Russo, and she's the only character that doesn't have the actual name of the character. They're basically portraying Susie Rodolo, who was his girlfriend, and again on the cover, but it doesn't matter. The righteous fury and indignation and contempt of like a Rolling Stone and positively 4th Street, all this stuff is there, and it's encoded in this. It is directed by James Mangold, who also, has done interesting biopics about Johnny Cash, that being Walk the Line, Ford versus Ferrari. He did the great Wolverine movie Logan. I was very impressed by this. Maybe it's because I love Dylan's work, but, it's going to get a lot of buzz as the award season ramps up. And it
sounds extraordinary in terms of what is being asked by the performers. I mean, it sounds like they had to really develop some music chops to be part of this.
Right. And it's this pivotal moment where he reinvents himself after inventing himself to begin with. Lovely film, and maybe not to everyone's taste. People might say it's a little on the surfacey side, but all of these glimpses into his life resonated for me.
Was he on a 10 scale? Was he a 10 as a musician and a poet?
You mean Dylan?
Yeah,
absolutely. There's a reason why he won the Nobel Prize.
Yeah,
and I also would be remiss if I didn't say that this thing is sort of fun to watch too. And you never really, the inscrutable nature of Dylan the performer and Dylan the man in public comes alive, if you will, as Chalamet embodies that. And I was delighted with it. And again, maybe not everyone would be as thrilled about it as I was, but it made me re-examine and re-listen to a lot of Dylan stuff, particularly that period when he converted from folk to folk rock and was incredibly influential. Bands like the Byrds followed suit. I thought it was pretty wonderful.
So that is a complete unknown.
Yes.
Michael says, don't miss it.
No, don't. And by the way, you see him pulling together the band. You see Albert Grossman, the guy who became his manager, played by Dan Fogler. Everybody's pretty damn wonderful in the movie.
But I mean, you know all this stuff. There are those of us who don't really follow Dylan or music the way you do, and we'll still enjoy it.
Absolutely. I really think you will. And Mangold co-wrote it with Jay Cox, a pretty renowned movie guy. Yay. I'm not quite as enthusiastic, but absolutely enthusiastic about Nosferatu.
No, I've seen the trailers for it. It looks scary.
It is a new update of the immortal vampire story that parallels Bram Stoker's deathless Dracula, here personified as Count Orlok, an evil but seductive supernatural being who lives, if you can call it that, within the depths of a remote and desolate Eastern European castle during the 1800s. I assume that's roughly. They didn't put up a.
Yeah, right.
This vile creature actually invades an innocent young woman's dreams, and through various manipulations, he then gets up close and personal with her. And this movie has a lot of bite. No, I'm sorry. Anyway,
how did he meet this woman
he creeps into her dreams?
I see.
And then he says he's going to purchase a plot of like a piece of real estate, and so the girl's fiance has to go to the Transylvanian castle to negotiate with this guy, and then he becomes sort of a tool to eventually get to the girl.
Okay.
Anyway, bottom line is he gets up close and personal with not only her, but her fiance.
Wow.
And their friends.
And he's sucking the blood of both of them.
Well, I'm not going to suggest that.
Okay.
There's something
more even worse than blood sucking.
Well, when you have no will of your own.
Oh,
Mark,
I see.
Which is something that is scary. Maybe is getting a bite in the neck. Anyway, this is written and directed by Robert Eggers of The Witch, The Lighthouse, and The Northman. And this Nosferatu is a visual and technical marvel in its art direction, and though shot in color, it is carefully rendered and frequently uses black and white and muted color, depending on the scene, to evoke a mood. And oh boy, much of it is set at night, further emphasizing the darkness of the story with its imagery. There's a creepy kind of classicism and vibe to this retelling of the tale that nods to the long history of Gothic horror. As far as the actors, no less than Nicholas Hoult, who has been in everything this season, including The Order. He's been in a number of films. He's getting a lot of play and a lot of recognition for his work. He plays the fiancé of young Ellen Hutter, played by Johnny Depp and Vanessa Paradis' daughter, Lily Rose Depp.
Wow.
And she's good. She's good. But she's surrounded by the likes of Hoult, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who just, of course, made me laugh in Craven the Hunter, but he does some serious work as the best friend of the character played by Hoult. And to emphasize the creepiness, guess who shows up? Willem Dafoe as a professor who sort of knows about these mystical and paranormal things.
Wow.
And finally, our villain, Count Orlok, played by Bill Skarsgård, who you may recall is part of the Stellan Skarsgård clan, brother to Alexander, and also Pennywise the clown in It. So he's going from Pennywise to Orlok.
Wow.
And so he's making kind of a career of playing monsters. And, I thought it was just fabulous to look at it. It's long-ish, but then again, isn't
how long
everything.
is longish?
Well, it's 2 hours and 13 minutes.
No, that's by today's standards, that's like a shorty.
It's nothing. But honest to God, it was good, and I really appreciated many aspects of it. And again, you're going to a well-worn story, and you're trying to breathe new life in it. And I believe that Robert Eggers has that capability. He did a good job.
Robert Eggers is a master, says Dave. The Witch is second to none.
Agreed.
J.P. H. says, I'm going to see Nosferatu. The director is great. So.
I can't imagine that Eggers didn't sit and say to himself, Robert, you just don't want to blow your Nosferatu.
The original Nosferatu was made 102 years ago.
Right. Well, so it's about time for a new one. It's been on the shelf.
Don't watch this alone, says Kurt. Is it scary, Michael?
It is creepier than hell. To quote the Addams Family song, it's creepy and it's spooky, mysterious and ooky. Okay. So,
what else do you have for us, Great Culture Blaster?
Baby Girl. Baby Girl, stylish, contemporary.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Yeah, actually,
don't even play.
Why didn't AOC show up in this movie? It would have been like a dream, but no. So this is a stylish, contemporary account of the career-endangering power struggle between a sexually entangled boss and assistant. And it's a more serious and heated gender swap of 2002's Secretary, which you may or may not recall.
I saw it, right.
So in Baby Girl, Nicole Kidman is the female CEO, married with offspring, whose hot affair with her quietly ruthless male intern, played by Harris Dickinson, proves personally and professionally perilous. Whereas in Secretary, the dynamic is, the normal, it's a male attorney played by James Spader and his newly hired secretary played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, and it was couched as sort of sexy fun. Not Baby Girl. Baby Girl generates considerable trouble for Kidman's exec as the intern turns on her. Kidman and Dickinson are kind of on fire here, and I mean performance-wise, with copious sexual heat and the kind of tension-juicing struggle for dominance that escalates throughout the film. And honestly, Kidman emotes her Botox face off, and that is no mean feat, man. I would suggest to you that this is worth watching. It's good. It left me a little cold at times, despite all the heat being generated on screen. Helena Rain did the directing and screenwriting. She did impressive work. Again, it just wasn't, it didn't blow me away like some are blown away by Baby Girl, which is in theaters.
It's in theaters.
Yeah, one more quick note. Playing her husband, who is beleaguered to say the least, Antonio Banderas.
Oh, okay, bueno.
Very bueno.
Nicole Kidman is working a lot.
Yeah.
She's all over the place, says Just Give Me the Truth.
She is. Coming to theaters a couple weeks after the release of the satisfying, similarly themed Struggle Against the Odds true life sports movie biography Unstoppable, we now have The Fire Inside, which tells the story of Clarissa Shields, played here in powerful fashion by a young actress named Ryan Destiny. And Clarissa was a teenage girl from a notably impoverished background, black and poor, in one of America's most toxic towns, Flint, Michigan, who, spoiler alert, becomes a boxing gold medalist at the Olympics, from nothing to the Olympics. And in fact, she is the only American boxer to date, male or female, to win back-to-back Olympic gold medals.
This is a true story?
Absolutely. Even if you know of her achievements, by the way, this account of her personal journey and unlikely athletic triumph manages to go beyond the facts of her amazing victory and contextualize it by showing the aftermath and the continuing obstacles she and Jason Crutchfield, her diligent and caring coach from the neighborhood, played, by the way, by the great Brian Tyree Henry, the obstacles they faced despite becoming, a sports heroine, standard bearer for her country. And in that way, The Fire Inside illustrates her importance to the rise of women's sports in America and the issues that continue to impact female athletes, such as getting paid at a level comparable to what the men earn. Is racism involved? Is sexism? What do you think? The script is really solid. It's by Academy Award honored Barry Jenkins. He's had the honor bestowed on him of nominations. I'm not sure whether Moonlight won that award or not back in the day. But
with the confusion.
Yeah, it was his movie. And it's directed by Rachel Morrison. And again, I have to say that this young woman who plays Clarissa, Ryan Destiny, packs a punch in more ways than one. And obviously, Brian Tyree Henry is cream of the crop as a character.
I am with MJ Daniel. MJ Daniel says, cool story. I've not followed boxing for a long time, so I never heard of her. Yeah, this is a story that maybe some people knew, but I didn't know it. I'm anxious to see it. Where is it, Michael?
In theaters.
Wide
in theaters, I think. I think it's pretty wide. Okay, one more opening tomorrow that I want to get to
quickly because the kids are here and the tree is filled with gifts.
I gotta bring it up. It's called Better Man, and it dramatizes the rise and fall and rise of British pop singer Robbie Williams, who's only known here pretty much for a song called Millennium that he did that incorporated John Barry's "You Only Live Twice" theme from the Bond film. A lovely track, very, very clever. This guy was the youngest member of the boy band Take That, one of the first boy bands along with NSYNC, the British edition, if you will. And he spun off as a solo artist. And if you need any proof of how it is not just another pop music biopic, look at a trailer. Williams is portrayed throughout as a monkey using motion capture on the actor John O. Davies' He plays Williams for the bulk of the movie, and it works. It works like gangbusters. It shouldn't work, but it works. It's a bold move by the director and co-screenwriter Michael Gracie, whose P.T. Barnum biopic, The Greatest Showman, starring Hugh Jackman, was kind of a flamboyant delight. This is thoroughly entertaining. The music is good for what it is. It's, boy band pop for most of it, and it supercharges any cliches of the music business bio that it has to, by nature, lean on by having the character
be a monkey.
Be a monkey.
Yeah.
And, his mom and dad and all the people around them are all humans. And
that is really funny.
There are exciting and fun song and dance sequences. It's a bauble for Christmas that you didn't expect you were going to get or probably want, and it is in select theaters. It's not wide like those other films, but it's in select theaters. And as we wrap up, I just want to also remind people that I loved the French film The Count of Monte Cristo. We talked about it briefly last week. It's a long, lengthy, and lavish, but thoroughly engaging adaptation of Alexander
And where
Dumas'
can that be
movie.
seen?
It is in select theaters.
Yeah.
And gosh, I hope your theater is selected.
Yes, The Count of Monte Cristo. And he likes Better Man, the Robbie Williams story told with this interesting little twist where the lead character is a monkey.
Right. There's no flinging of poo, but I kind of expected that at one point or another.
No, but he behaves completely as a human. It's just that he's...
Yeah, he looks like a monkey.
The Fire Inside, about the teenage girl in Flint, Michigan, fighting against the odds and fighting against other fighters. Ryan Destiny and Brian Tyree Henry.
Oh, yes.
In that one. Michael really liked it. It's in select theaters. And he says it's really, really good. Nicole Kidman headlines Baby Girl. And he really likes Baby Girl.
Oh, girl, baby girl. Don't even play.
Doesn't like it quite as much as some of the other stuff that he's offered. But he says, boy, Nicole Kidman is terrific in this one. As is
Harris Dickinson. Yeah.
All the performances are really good. Baby Girl is in theaters. Nosferatu, the update of the vampire story. First he's in your dreams, then he's in your will to live. Nosferatu. Oh, you've really captured me on this one, Michael Snyder. The Culture Blaster says he likes it. He really likes it. But the film he really, really, really likes is A Complete Unknown, the Dylan story. The Dylan story told in ways in which the actors involved actually had to learn musical instruments and how to, again, this is the Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan story, and it takes place, you say, Michael, at a time when Dylan was making the move from sort of folk to rock.
Well, you see his progression from the early 60s when he meets his hero, Woody Guthrie, in hospital and becomes mentored in a way by Pete Seeger. And let me just say again how wonderful everyone was in their respective roles. And Edward Norton was kind of the MVP, Elle Fanning, but it's Timothée Chalamet as Dylan that is the revelation here.
Yeah, and he says he sounds like him, looks like him, everything's great. Wow. I can't wait to see it. It's in theaters. How long is that one? 3.5 hours, 4 hours?
Oh, you wish. You wish you could just sit there and revel in the beauty of Timothée Chalamet.
Is it a normal length?
Oh, God. Are you ready? 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Okay, there
it's
you go.
Almost like, get that popcorn bucket ready in case.
It's the way they do it.
Just in case. Once you've eaten the popcorn, you can use the bucket. Oh, never mind.
Michael, great times with you. We adore you. Thank you for making this special trip to the show. He is the great Culture Blaster. Find him at thevoicesf.org. Michael Snyder.
Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. By the way, I'm having those delicious Kung Pao latkes at the Chinese restaurant tonight. If you want to join me.
Wow, I love it. All right, Michael, on your way. On your way.
I'm going.
The Mark Thompson Show.
My gosh, we made it all the way to the end. I'm astounded. This has been a terrific show. This New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve. New Year's Eve, we will also be on the air. I know. It's incredible. Kim wanted it. She insisted that we be on the air.
There's never been anything like this.
On New Year's Eve. And I said, really, Kim? You want us to all to be here on New Year's Eve? She said, yes, I insist. So we will. And Mari, thank you for €2. And a big shout out to you.
Big shout
Super
out.
sticker. Happy birthday, Mark, says Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. That's so sweet. Is there any kind of Christmas bells I can put up behind? There you go. Eugenio says a $10 super sticker is the thing that will get it done. Big shout out,
Big
Eugenio.
shout out.
Yeah. Nicholas, the name comes from the Schleswig-Holstein Germany Denmark thing. Kim will tell us more about that next time. Admittedly, more like Churchill and de Gaulle. It would be more like Churchill and de Gaulle would be toward Trump roast or rump roast, hence my like for Newsom. Nicholas, very, Kim, you'll put that to the side. Nicholas has got some very deeply thought out comments.
He does.
Yeah. Scott Rittenberg says, what does it say? Happy birthday, Mark? Is that what it says?
My question, what's really in the Paradise Papers that Donald J. Trump wants to kill? And something, thank you for all you do for us. I think he means David Cay Johnston.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah. David Cay Johnston's terrific. Scott, thank you for the $10 super chat. Thank you for being such a great supporter of the show. Remember, Albert, when we were going to do the, we did this one year with the bells. It made me think of it. So here was the bit that we were going to do. We were going to do a bit where the bells start and I go with, Albert, it's the end of the year, and I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa and Happy New Year. And we couldn't do this without all the help of the people on the show, Kim and you, Albert. And then Albert would say something, and slowly, remember, Albert, there's a plan that we devolve into a fight. Remember? Yeah, that was the bit. That was the bit.
We did it. We did it last year.
Oh, we did it last year? Good. It's really, I miss it this year. I miss it. Yeah. Kim, so we, the planned kind of Yuletide spirit that then devolves into us fighting with each other about who's most important to the show. And it's really, I really kind of miss that. But
really, seeing as how it's the holidays, we haven't really fought enough. We really need to bring it home with a good old fashioned.
Girl, you just woo. Yeah, we do. We need a good fight. But I know Albert has a family party to get to, so let's get out of here. I'm terribly sorry, Albert, to keep you so late. Albert has family who loves him. So does Kim. Mine's on the East Coast, so I don't have them to worry about.
Nobody loves me. You know what the most overrated, underused Christmas decoration is?
What's that?
The mother's stocking.
The mother's stocking?
Yeah. The stocking that says mom on it. No one puts anything in there, ever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mom is truly the underappreciated the underappreciated character in society, I think, generally. So thanks, everybody. We will be dark, as you know, for Christmas and also for the 2 days after Christmas. Then we are back next week, and the only other day that we're dark is New Year's Day. So thanks, everyone. And now, Shadow, if you would, please.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
After Party Live's going down. Albert, thank you. Kim, thank you.
Out of time.
Merry
Bye,
Christmas.
bye.
Happy Hanukkah. All that stuff. Bye.